I'm a legacy at Texas Tech. I'm a fourth generation Swofford who has received their degree from Texas Tech. My great-grandmother got her degree. Both my grandparents got their degrees from Texas Tech. My mother and dad got their degrees from Texas Tech, and my sister and I got degrees from Texas Tech. So it was kind of like in the, in the tea leaves, so to speak, that's where I was going. So it was just in my blood, I think, and I was happy to go there and applied and got in, and the rest just kind of went from there. I was able to take advantage when I first got to Tech. I wanted my career to be in sports broadcasting. That's just what I decided I wanted to do. And when I went to Tech, I found out, oh, there's a radio station and it's run by the students. So what a great opportunity. So I immediately got involved at KTXT-FM as a student volunteer. I think I had a sports shift that I ran where I read sports, and ultimately that sort of, the level of responsibilities increased. We started doing JV football games. Back then there was a JV football team at Texas Tech. We used to do the baseball games on KTXT. I later became sports director, so that was sort of my main sort of connection with the school back then. Tech really opened doors for me because I think because it gave me the experience at an early part of my time there, hands-on experience. I was able to meet people in the outside industry. I got to know the news directors at all the television stations. Just through constant communication and them, knowing who I was, and you just run across these people at various events. And so that helped me, move right in. I think my first job, I remember I had gone to KLBK, which was the CBS affiliate, and gone in to interview as a junior in college saying, what can I do? And they didn't have anything at the time. I knew Sid Allen, who was the news director and the sports director, who I'd met through some of my broadcasting events. And I remember I went home between my junior and my senior year, and about midway through the summer, I got a call from Sid saying, hey, we've got a photographer's position. Do you think you'd want to run a video camera for us for a while? And of course, I said, well, I don't know anything about photography, but I'm there. And so I got in my car and drove back to Lubbock and actually went to school for the second session that summer and began as a photographer. But I learned quickly, it was on-the-job training about, what life as a broadcaster is like, and kind of worked my way into doing some broadcasting on the weekends, which is really what I wanted to do. From there, it just kind of took off, and I was in broadcasting. I left. I ended up being the news director at KLBK for a while. Left KLBK and came down to KTBC, which was the CBS affiliate in Austin, and worked there for 11 more years as an anchor and a reporter, investigative reporter. So I went from getting my foot in the door as a photographer in Lubbock to a pretty solid career, I think, in broadcasting. After about 15 years in broadcasting, I knew that sort of the next step in my life was going to be maybe changing careers. I was looking for something a little bit different, but still in communication. So PR seemed like a good path for me to try. I'd met so many people in broadcasting, many PR folks, and I would take those people out to lunch and find out a little bit about their career and what I needed to do. About a year later, I had an opportunity to open up in sort of a specialized industry, gaming, and a local gaming company, Origin Systems, needed a PR manager, and I really knew nothing about gaming. It was really, the industry was pretty much in its infancy back then. But I got into that, and it just kind of blossomed for me. And I was able to bring a lot of what I learned in broadcasting into a lot of the tools that I had in broadcasting and journalism into the PR business. Again, in a part of the PR industry that was really new, and an industry itself that was new, and sort of helped to bring that along.
David is a brilliant public relations strategist. He is a pioneer in the computer gaming industry, and he has created and promoted some of the biggest brands in that industry across the country and really on the global stage. And he speaks with journalists all over the world, and they recognize him as a trailblazer because he has such high standards. We learned ethics, and a great communicator.
if you're familiar with the gaming industry, I've worked with a lot of, and still am working with a lot of what I would call sort of some of the top 5 or 6 sort of legendary designers. Chris Roberts is who I'm working with right now. Chris is the person who created the Wing Commander series of games.
David is the best director of communications or PR person I've ever worked with. I've actually worked with David for quite a long time. We first worked together back in the Origin days in the early 90s, and he handled the PR for Origin and dealt with Richard Garriott, Lord British, and myself doing the rounds on Ultima and Wing Commanders and Privateers and various other games that we worked on. And when I was starting the campaign for Star Citizen back in 2012, I reached out to David and said, hey, would you like to help me put this campaign together? And there was a very small, merry band of us. There was probably 4 or 5 people tops. We put together a whole media strategy, and David helped set it up.
And probably the biggest thing that we're doing right now is we have, I worked with Chris to launch his latest endeavor through a crowdfunding campaign that we launched a couple of years ago. And it's been so successful, it's now the largest crowdfunding campaign ever, all that's out there. We've raised, as of today, we've raised nearly $50 million for this project. I guess the one thing that I feel like has really sort of boosted my, I guess, profile in the PR industry is this whole crowdfunding thing, which is, it's kind of an interesting new paradigm in fundraising for any project, I actually get people now because of the work I've done with Chris and Star Citizen, and we've raised this much money because a big part of his launch was the PR effort. And I do get calls from people saying, hey, can you do for me and our company what you did for Chris? And I also did one for Richard Garriott also, which is now raised nearly $5 million, which is a lot for any other project. So I do think this whole sort of crowdfunding and doing PR and understanding how that works is even more specialized beyond just the gaming PR. I'm a great example of someone who utilized all the tools, everything that the college has to offer, and took those and took advantage of them and utilized and turned them into, what I think is a pretty successful career, and something that's been very fulfilling to me, and something that I can turn back and sort of say, okay, here's how it can work for you. I really, I don't want to sound too cliche, but the opportunities are there, and if you take advantage of them and push yourself out and a little bit beyond the box, and the old think outside the box and do something different and just try it. Just get out there and make the effort. And you may make a mistake here and there. We all do. I did. But you learn from those, and they make you a stronger person, and you'll have a very fulfilling career. And so I think it's important to look at people like myself and some of these great, outstanding alumni that we're recognizing, that their story is something that everyone should look at and say, you can do this too. I think that's an important message. My life is, with the legacy that my parents brought, my grandparents and my great-grandparent, it is such an important part of my life. I can hardly even sort of put words into it, but you can ask anyone that knows me, and they know that Texas Tech is when they see me, they know that that's going to be a topic of discussion, the football team or the university or the School of Communications or the College of Communications, Media and Communication. It is such a part of my fabric, and it goes way back. It goes beyond the time I was even on this earth and through me. And my beautiful wife, who I met at Texas Tech, so very important part of my life. So it's just so into everything I do, an important part of my life. The enjoyment I get from going back to Lubbock and visiting with students and friends, it's just really so much a part. I can't even imagine what life would be like without it. It's that way, and I really mean that. It's a very important part of my life.